Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to more Drak vlogs for E3. And we're getting to the final two conferences. And in fact, some of you have already kind of guessed that these are going to be the ones that I'm biased towards. I think I actually saw a few listeners of the podcast as well as people on my channel and friends all saying, okay, we pretty much know how things are going to go for you. We know you're going to crap on EA. We know you're going to crap on Ubisoft. We know you're going to be like meh about Xbox, and then Nintendo and Sony are going to be the ones you love because you're horribly biased. And for the most part, I would actually say that hasn't been true. Yes, I have crapped on EA, but Ubisoft I actually thought gave a fairly good presentation. Microsoft, this has actually been the better one in the last couple of years. And, well, I guess we'll find out the rest. Well, Bethesda also did well, too. Because Bethesda was also supposed to be mad about. But I actually found a lot of games that I was excited for. Granted, they weren't, like, legit Bethesda games. They weren't Fallout. They weren't Elder Scrolls. But the id games looked interesting and all that. So, let's see if the rest is right as we go into the Sony press conference. And things literally started off with, and I gotta mention this, like, the first couple of trailers on that thing. And I'm just going to give people a spoiler. Because of issues that I had earlier on in the week, I had internet, PC, weather, all kinds of issues on Sunday and Monday. So, granted, this put me a little late when it came to conferences as well as videos. So, spoiler alert, I got to things late. And so when I got to the Sony conference, I don't know if this was actually there live, but I'm guessing it was. They had freaking audio problems with like the first three trailers. Now, Sony has had issues in previous conferences, but this is getting kind of ridiculous because they've always been audio to some extent where things get muffled. You can't necessarily tell what people are saying. I actually had to go back to those individual trailers to watch them and see what they were actually saying. But we started things off with Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. So this is actually going to be... I've been kind of confused for the last couple of months whether or not this is a DLC for Uncharted 4 or if this is its own game. It is its own game. It follows Chloe from the Uncharted universe, as well as the, and I can't remember her name off the top of my head, the mercenary general from Uncharted 4, played by Laura Bailey, as they go after the Tusk of Ganesh. So already it looks really, really good. I think it's the Uncharted 4 engine, so it's going to look great. I do like the fact that we're going into a side plot now, especially since Naughty Dog has said if they were going to do another Uncharted game, it wouldn't necessarily star Nathan Drake. I think Chloe is actually a really good subject for that, since she wasn't in Uncharted 4. We don't know what she was doing in the meantime. So yeah, it looks really, really good so far. The second trailer was actually for DLC for Horizon Zero Dawn, and that was the Frozen Wilds, which is not only added hunts to be able to go do, but also adds on to the story of Horizon Zero Dawn, because Aloy actually shows up with some better armor, and she's apparently up there looking for answers. We don't know necessarily what for, but one can only assume it's probably connected to all of the stuff that she was dealing with near Endgame at Horizon Zero Dawn. All of the Gaia stuff. So we get to look forward to that. It looks amazing. They did say that there was going to be new items, new appearances, and we got to see one of them, which actually involves shields being in front of Aloy's face. That was pretty cool. The next one that came up, and this was around the time when they fixed the audio problems, was Days Gone. Now, people remember last year I was not fond of this game. So it's from people who make Siphon Filter, or have made Siphon Filter, and it's basically yet another post-apocalyptic zombie game. I would actually dare say I'm a little bit more interested this year than I was last year, because not only does it have, zombie horde stuff, but it actually does have, like, zombie animals, which did look interesting. The backdrops, but the areas that you go through are really awesome. This looks like a very polished game. It's just unfortunate that it's a post-apocalyptic zombie game. So at that point, it's like, oh, well, every other game is that. But I am at least interested now, probably to a point where I do a try of it. I don't know. So we did Days Gone, then we moved to a big announcement, Monster Hunter World. So I gotta be the first to say, like, I know very little on Monster Hunter. I've actually considered getting it for 3DS. But I've just haven't gotten around to it yet. But this is a console entry, and man, the game is gorgeous. I mean, the monsters that you are actually hunting look great. The world that you're in is breathtaking. I'm looking forward to this. This might be the Monster Hunter game that I pick up. This might be it. And it's going to be coming in early 2018. The next one shocked a few people because it's going to be a remastered version of Shadow of the Colossus. Now, I know a few people have actually asked, like, why aren't they doing a remastered version for Eco? Okay, the reason I can think of that they're doing it is, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but from what I've been told, Shadow of the Colossus is probably the most successful of them, and probably seconded by The Last Guardian. I know a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of assessments on this, that Eco is still Eco on the collections, but Shadow of the Colossus is really what people go for. And so I think they decided, well, if we're going to do a reboot of this thing, then let's just do Shadow of the Colossus, because Eco isn't going to be driving people. So it is going to be remastered for PS4, and it is coming in 2018. Up next was Capcom at the plate, and they dealt with Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Now, we got to see a bunch of new characters. It's looking very, very interesting, and on top of that, the trailer that we got was a story mode trailer. Holy crap, it looks great! We're going to be dealing with Ultron, but we also get to have people like Thanos at our side. Some of the people that were highlighted were Mega Man X, Zero, Gamora. I think this is the first time she's been shown. Thanos, obviously, first time he was been shown. We also got to see Hawkeye, Rocket Raccoon, Dante. What I thought was Chris Redfield, but it actually turned out to be the Bionic Commando that everybody kind of hates. The one where his wife is in his arm kind of thing. But overall, it looks really, really good. I cannot wait for that to come out in September, I believe. Then we got Call of Duty World War II. Hey, we're Call of Duty, and we're going to take the idea that Battlefield had last year, and we're going to implement it. That's literally my thoughts on the matter. It's, oh, well, Battlefield's going back to a retro era? Well, so are we. So I have a feeling we'll go through another couple of years where we're just doing past wars again, and then we'll probably go back to modern warfare again. But, yeah, my thoughts are, oh joy. I'm not interested in going into another Call of Duty again, especially considering it's just rehashed ideas. Then we actually got the announcement. I'd actually heard about this before I had watched the Bethesda one. Somebody, I think it was IGN that was reporting on it on the show floor. But Skyrim VR is officially a thing. And my thoughts are, my notes on this just basically say, yep, this is a thing, because of course it is. So not only are you going to get Doom VR, not only are you going to get Fallout 4 VR, but now you're also getting Skyrim VR, because why not? We've released this game who knows how many times now. Let's just go ahead and release it again. Now, the next piece of the conference, I believe, was dedicated to PSVR, but a lot of the games that they showcased actually looked like they were either going to be solely for VR, or they actually did have like an outside VR implication. So I'm not sure on that one. And I've done my homework on a few of them, but not all. First of all, Star Child looked really, really good. It actually, I would actually dare say compare it to the graphics of, say, Mighty No. 9, except a little bit more polished. Really looked good, but I was debating whether or not this was a VR game, because the perspective was a platformer. So like a side-scroller, where you can see who you are, but you don't necessarily need the VR. But it looked good nonetheless. This is one of those indie games that I would love to get my hands on. The next one was The Inpatient. I would totally understand that this is a VR game. Because 80% of it is just from a VR perspective. You're talking to people, you're dealing with your own insanity kind of thing. So that would make sense. We also got Final Fantasy 15 DLC. In case you didn't know this, there is going to be DLC for PSVR that allows you to play as Prompto in it. And now they're going to be doing DLC for that called Monster of the Deep, which is basically fishing DLC. The best I can explain it, it's you can fish and occasionally come across something dangerous. Whoopee! I wish I could say more on it, but it just didn't catch my eye. But it's going to be releasing September 2017. Another shooter was announced called Bravo Team. Again, VR. Looks good for VR, but I'm not interested. The next one was Moss. This is another one that I have questions about, because Again, it was advertised as a PlayStation VR game, but it was not in the perspective. And Moss basically looked like an indie game with a Secret of Nim vibe. You play as a little mouse with a sword and go through the world. That looked really, really, really cool, and I hope it's not restricted to VR because I would love to be able to do a try and even play it. Looked really, really good. Then we got one of the big ones that people expected, God of War. We got to see a lot more of the world. We know that the boy is not necessarily a temporary thing. In fact, he's going to be following Kratos for a good portion of it, and we even got to see some sections that are solely for the boy. The other interesting part in the trailer is that we can pretty much confirm he is Kratos' son, at least according to the woman that he's talking to. He is Kratos' son, so this is going to be another interesting take. And I'm just going to say it again, I said it last year, Christopher Judge as Kratos is an amazing casting choice. Especially since this is a different Kratos. This is not the same Kratos we were dealing with in the, how many was it? Like 6 God of War games that came before this one. Yeah, God of War 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th one on PS3 and the 2 handheld games. So yeah, 6 games. This is not the same Kratos. This is a different, not different, but Kratos that's gone through some crap since then and isn't necessarily the same bloodthirsty guy that he used to be. And so the voice change to Christopher Judge is actually a really good change. But we got to see a lot of cool Norse mythology stuff, including, I'm not remembering his name off the top of my head, but it was the World Serpent. We actually got to see him. And the other cool part is the boy is not being brought along just to be an extra fighter. He actually can translate some of the God speak that you're going to hear because, you got to remember, Kratos is from Greece. He doesn't know this language that well. And so it's cool to have the boy translate this giant serpent trying to tell him that he wants to help him. So that was pretty much what we got, and that's going to be coming early 2018. Detroit Become Human was next. So this is a sequel to Detroit from 2 years ago. I can't remember the subtitle for that one. But it doesn't even look like you're playing the same guy. I'm guessing there. Because again, I haven't played Detroit, but now I probably will. You play as a character named Marcus, who is basically starting the robot rebellion. Most of the trailer kind of showcased that, where you're taking all of these retail androids and liberating them and bringing them over to your cause. So that's going to look interesting. It's motivated me enough to actually go and get the previous Detroit game so that I'm up to speed. But it looks great. The next game was Destiny 2, so we got the official trailer for that. I gotta say, it looks good. It looks interesting in the fact that, all things are peaceful in the worlds of Destiny, but then an alien race comes in and basically trances us, and now we have to earn our way back. I did like that concept, and that is releasing September 6th, 2017. Looks really good for consoles, and obviously, if people haven't followed the story, if you get the PC version, you can now play that on Blizzard's Battle.net. So that's going to be an interesting transition there. And then the last one that got showcased in the conference was Insomniac's Spider-Man. Holy crap, this game looks good. I know that it's early on and I haven't been able to play a demo of it, but this is a game that I definitely want to own because it feels like they finally get what made Spider-Man 2 the game so popular. This game plays so much more awesome than previous Spider-Man games before it, aside from the aforementioned 2. That's going to be coming in 2018. And the other interesting Easter egg at the very end of it was that we have a little... So the trailer actually follows Peter as he's trying to uncover a plot involving Wilson Fisk and a gang called the Demons. But because of all the collateral damage that goes into that, we actually get another additional scene of a young Miles Morales taking pictures of the fallout. And that already got people just freaking out because holy crap, Miles Morales is going to get featured in this game. We don't know necessarily how much, but at least you guys got that little Easter egg. And then the last thing that I want to talk about, that wrapped up the conference, but this was another Sony property that I was kind of surprised didn't make the conference, but I wanted to talk about. That was the trailer for Knack 2. I know a lot of people don't really like Knack, but I'm one of the people that does. I think it's a nice, lighthearted property for Sony to have. And so I got to see the trailer for Knack 2. I really liked it. I thought it was cool to go a couple of years later when people are a little older, maybe refine the models a little bit more. And that's going to be coming out September 5th, 2017. So that's probably going to be added to my Drak Tries list. And that pretty much wraps up the Sony conference coverage. Do I think it was better or worse? I would actually say Sony was kind of meh this year. I mean, we had some good moments with Days Gone and God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn, but eventually things kind of weighed down a little bit. Not as much interest was shown in some of the newer properties for VR, as much as when we got cheering for God of War or Days Gone or Spider-Man. So I'd actually say that this is probably like a B-, a C+ conference for Sony, because they've definitely done better in years past. And unfortunately, the sad part about that was a lot of the stuff that people wanted announced in the Sony conference already got announced as it wasn't coming. So Death Stranding wasn't coming. We knew that. Shenmue 3 wasn't going to be there. And I actually probably should address this too. Kingdom Hearts 3 was announced that it wasn't going to be there, but later on we actually got a full-on trailer and the announcement that there is going to be an event on July 15th, which is going to give us a new trailer for Kingdom Hearts 3 as well as a new world. The trailer doesn't really show too much. It shows Olympus Coliseum some more, as well as the unlocking of a new form that you can get, a new drive form called Second Form, and also some additional story details that kind of hint that Sora might be trying to reawaken Roxas. Now, I think, personally, just as a lore nut for Kingdom Hearts, they're more leaning towards he's trying to resurrect the character Ventus, and he doesn't really know it. But that was a nice little twist to actually have Ansem come to him and say, are you trying to actually focus on learning the dark now instead of learning the light? And so that's going to be happening July 15th. I'll obviously do coverage for that too, but yeah, that looked awesome, and I think that's going to go ahead and wrap things up. It was a C+, kind of B- conference. Not their best, but certainly not their worst. And that's going to go ahead and do it for me, so thank you guys so much for watching, and of course I'll be back tomorrow for the final conference, covering both the Spotlight and the Treehouse for Nintendo. We'll see you guys then.